It has now been 1,000 days since the Poppy Playtime spin-off Project Playtime received its last update, its last hotfixes, its last support of any kind to this day. There is one really important preface I need to make right at the beginning of the video, which is, although it's really easy to pin everything on the October 26th, 2023 date, support for the game didn't hit a brick wall and end entirely on that day. We know that they were working on at least 2 new features for Project Playtime which ultimately never came to light. During a dedicated live stream, some of the developers said that they were genuinely prototyping PJ Pugapillar to add into the game as the 4th villain. PJ Pugapillar would have been a wild character to play as and really difficult to develop, so it's kind of understandable why we never saw it, but this would have been in development at the time the game got its final hotfixes. Around the same time, the Project Playtime Twitter page, which is still up to this day, posted this video asking if people would be interested in a new kind of tag mode. It looked wild. Like a mix of Ultra Kill, Spider-Man, Splatoon. It would have been great. I commented at the time saying, yes, this is great, please give it to us. It would have been in development at the same time October 2023 rolled around, and like PJ Pugapillar, we just never saw it. So although the last echoes of genuine notable support fell on October 26, 2023, 1,000 days ago, things were still being worked on, but we just never saw it. Despite everything that they might have been working on for the game in October 2023, we need to face the facts. It's been over 2 years since the game was supported, and the truth of the matter is, most people probably stopped playing long before that. Compared to other live service games, the dwindling, if that's the right term to use, dwindling player numbers have survived lots of other live service games, least of all Concord and Highguard. People are still playing it, and I am one of those people. At one point, I had the 3rd highest playtime in Europe, the entire continent, on Project Playtime, so it's fair to say I love the game quite a bit. Unfortunately, a lot of people passed judgment on it really quickly. Some of you may not have been a Poppy Playtime fan long enough to remember when the game came out, and some of you may have never played Project Playtime yourselves. Let me give you a breakdown on how the game works. It's 6 versus 1, 5 people play as engineers or Playtime co-workers, and they have tasks to do to build a toy, while someone playing as the villain, either Huggy Wuggy, Mummy Longlegs or Boxy Boo, hunts them down and tries to stop them. The only thing that really comes to mind as I continue to play Project Playtime are the missed opportunities. Not only things that we know they were working on like PJ Pugapillar and the new game mode, because they were at least considerations. There are some things that we never knew if they were working on or not. Project Playtime came out at what was probably the most difficult time to be a Poppy Playtime fan since Chapter 1. There had been more than half a year since Poppy Playtime Chapter 2, and we were over a year out from even the first trailer for Poppy Playtime Chapter 3. There was even a rumour that the only reason Project Playtime existed was because Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 had been internally delayed, and they needed something to hold us over, and that was Project Playtime. I don't think that rumour holds water at all. The amount of work that goes into a concept like Project Playtime and everything like that, keeping the servers running, it doesn't yell, "This is only here because we delayed another game." Although Project Playtime came out at a time where there was otherwise a Poppy Playtime news drought, the final update for the game came out only a few months before Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 in January 2024. For that reason, so many people thought there must be an update to coincide with Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 that would give us new maps, new skins and everything in Project Playtime. We wanted to see Playcare as a map in Project Playtime. We thought maybe Catnap would have been a new monster. Because this was still a time where PJ Pugapillar was being worked on, there was still hope that Project Playtime could be supported. But we never got that. Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 came out, and then it left Project Playtime in the dust. Then Poppy Playtime Chapter 4 came out. Yarnaby was made for Project Playtime. They would have been such a good fit. No new skins, cosmetics, maps, characters, or anything for Poppy Playtime Chapter 4 either. Then Poppy Playtime Chapter 5 came out. They could have made affordances for the prototype maybe, but there was nothing new for Chapter 5 either. There was a tiny glimmer of hope that just maybe Project Playtime would be supported again when Poppy Playtime Chapter 5 came out in February 2026. Some of the members of the team were asked about the possibility of going back to Project Playtime, and that was the first time they'd even mentioned it in so long. Even then, that was almost half a year ago, and nothing has happened on Project Playtime since. We still only have Huggy Wuggy, Mummy Longlegs and Boxy Boo. We only have the same 5 maps. Phase 3 Incineration has been the battle pass for years, but even then I can't help but think there's still Hope. We know that there is a new Poppy Playtime book, an updated version of the Orientation Handbook, coming out in February 2027. So we know that there will probably not be anything new in the mainline series of Poppy Playtime until at least then, February 2027 at the earliest. What does that mean for the rest of this year as a Poppy Playtime fan? There might be an ARG, there might be trailers for Chapter 6, there could be news on the Poppy Playtime movie. I think that these next 6 months are the golden opportunity to finally, after 1,000 days, return to Project Playtime. I wouldn't care if there was just this massive overhaul. They add characters from Chapter 3, 4 and 5, maps and everything in just one giant upgrade. I wouldn't mind that at all. And the reason why I never lost hope, the reason why I never gave up on Project Playtime, the reason why I truly believe the game is not dead in the water and will be unsupported for another 1,000 days is because the game never left beta. Every time you open up the game and every time for the last 1,000 days, whenever anyone in the entire world has opened up Project Playtime, it says the game is still being worked on. This is not the final version. I thought the wait for phase 2 of the toy box was agonizing, that was months and months, but this is ridiculous. So yeah, 1,000 days with just nothing. A 1,000 day news drought for Project Playtime. I still play it, I've met friends on Project Playtime, I still really enjoy it. I have a little fun anecdote for you. I actually bought a new laptop just so I could play Project Playtime. When the game first came out, my little gap year laptop wasn't actually powerful enough to run it, so I bought a new laptop just because I wanted to play Project Playtime. So yeah, there is still hope. There is still hope. Don't let anyone tell you there isn't hope for Project Playtime to make the ultimate comeback.